Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to solve this problem from LeetCode, palindrome number. So initially I wanted to solve this one, but then I thought it was going to be straightforward, but then it wasn't. And I thought it would be interesting to make a video. And while I was doing it, I was referencing like a lot of concepts from this problem, like the palindrome problem, how it is solved, and why these concepts are not working here and how we can solve it. So I just decided to make just one first video about the palindrome and the technique that to solve it and everything. And the second video, the second part of this video, we will actually solve this linked list palindrome. So let's read the question. Given an integer x, return true if x is a palindrome and false otherwise. So what is a palindrome? So in this case, an integer is a palindrome when it reads the same forward and backward. For example, 121 is a palindrome while 123 is not. So we have more example here. And so the follow-up, could you solve this without converting the integer to a string? So we are actually going to use a string. So now let's plan how we are going to solve the problem. So let's have this example. So here we have the word madam, right? It can be read forward and backward, which is a palindrome. So one way you can solve this problem is using reverse and compare, right? So first way is reverse and compare. So what do I mean by reverse and compare? So here, let's say we have this, so let's make it the French word madame, and let's reverse it. So we have E, then M-A-D-A-M, and then we compare it. So now so this is the reverse part. So you take the string and you reverse it. Now you compare. So are these the same? No. But if it was this, and so this is the original one, this is the reversed one. So if we compare both of these, then we see that they are the same, then we should return true, because that means this original word is a palindrome. So this works, but it has both time and space complexity that are linear. So there is a better way to solve it, and this is what I'm going to do using the second approach, which is so the second approach is called two pointers. So what do I mean by two pointers? So basically we are going to create two pointers. They are just variables, right? Because you need to know that string is just an array, right? It's just an array of characters. So each character has an index that you can access, right? So this is going to be index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I want to create a variable that will start at the first index. So this one will start at the index 0, and I want another variable, another pointer that will start at the ends of my string. So in this case, that's going to be 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I'm just going to check if the value of this index, the element at this index, is the same as the element at this index. If yes, so I go down once from here, and I go up once from here. Then I do the same thing, I check again. So are these elements the same? So now I don't want them to overlap, so that means if I reach the middle, so I will end my algorithm. So here, if I had like W, right, and I checked here and they are not the same, then I break, so I return false, right? But if I come here and they are still the same and I end my loop, then I should return true. That means the string is a palindrome. So that's two pointers method is very easy to understand and to implement. So let's go ahead and write the code. So before we go on to implement our two pointers technique, we first need to address the fact that we have been given an integer number, but we want to convert that into a string. So we are going to use typecasting. So let's our new string, and then we cast our number. So the number, right, is going to be converted into a string. So now that we had that out of the way, we can just go ahead and create our two pointers. So like I said, the pointers are just variables that keep track of the index of our string. So let's create one variable called first that is going to start at 0, and another variable last that is the last index. So our last index here is going to be 4. So how do we get the last index? Just the length of our string, and we want to subtract 1 from it. Here you can see that madam is 5, the length of madam is 5, but the last index is 4 because we start counting from 0. So if you don't subtract 1, then you're just going to index 5, and that's just going to be out of bound. So we want to subtract 1. Now we can go and do the next step. So the next step is going to be a loop, right? And this step was the hardest for me because what loop do you use, right? Is it going to be a while loop or a for loop, or what condition you need to use? So here our condition is that we don't want both of them to overlap, right? We want the first one to always be less than the second one, that last one. So if we have a situation where they have to overlap, then we are just going to break out of the loop. So that should be the condition in our loop. So while first is less than last. Now, what do we do at each iteration? We are basically checking to see if the value at this index are the same. So that's going to be if the new string at index first equals new string at index last. Then what do we do if they are equals? Well, if they are equals, that means we found the match, right? We want to keep going. So we want to move the first one once and move the last one down 1. So that's basically going to, we are going to increment the first by 1, and we are going to decrement last by 1. So that is if they are the same. Now, what if they are not the same? If they're not the same, that means we don't have a palindrome, right? That means we just return false, right? We don't have a palindrome. So else, we want to return false. Now, what if we get to the point that there is we have actually break out of the loop? So if we have if they're all the same and then we break out of the loop, so we don't want these to overlap, so we break out of the loop, then that means we found a palindrome. So in that case, we want to return true. So that should be it for our two pointers technique. So let's run it to see if we have any syntax error or anything. So no error, and our 3 cases have been accepted. So in the next video, we are going to try to use this technique, two pointers technique, to the linked list. But because here we have an array and here we have a linked list, we are going to have a problem. So we are going to have to find another way to do it, and that's going to be in the next video.